Does John Calipari have a beef here? He's obviously very angry, and he doesn't like that he's on the 4 line after winning his tournament. What's your take?
I think he's right. I think his team was better than that. And the fact that Texas A&M got a 3 and he got a 4, I understand how he feels. But I don't think it really matters now. I think for most of the coaches, you're probably better off just saying, we're really happy with where we got to see, and then do your complaining later on after this is all over. The last time I remember John doing this, and it may be for his team, I don't know. There's usually always something behind it. It's not just because he's annoyed. He's usually doing something for another purpose that's going to benefit his team or benefit him. But the last time I remember him saying something about this was back when he was at Memphis, when he complained about a seed, and I think his team was out pretty quick after that. I know that a lot of coaches think that their team was misseeded in certain years, but with your team, you say, hey, I love where we are. This is great. This couldn't be better for us. This is exactly where we want to be. And you get them focused on something else. Because when guys start thinking about, woe is me, or, somehow they got jobbed, they tend to take their mind off what they're supposed to be doing.
How about Michigan State? Do they have a gripe?
I don't think Michigan State has a gripe as much as they do. It was a close call. Michigan State. I think Michigan State can claim they're playing as well as anybody, but it's not like Oregon's not just as good. I think the only thing what this kind of shows, though, is that all the stuff that sort of the bracket predictors talk about, a good bit of it isn't accurate, and that is, one of them's like conference championships. They'll say, well, they're honoring a conference champion. The committee doesn't talk about that stuff because finishing third in one conference is better than winning another one. And Virginia didn't win the ACC, nor did they win the ACC tournament, and they're number 1 seed. And it's because they won more games against top-quality competition than any of their competitors on the 2 line. And that's basically what it comes down to. And, I said Friday, I think it was Friday night, I was on SportsCenter or something right after one of the ACC semifinal games, and they were saying, who are your 1 seeds? And I said, Oregon's 1 seed. And they said, well, what, do they have to win this? I said, no, they're 1 seed, period. They're going to be a 1 seed on Sunday. And they had more quality wins than Michigan State, even if Michigan State were to win the Big Ten championship. And that's the way the committee's done it for a long time. And I figured, now this was just sort of an educated guess. I figured that the committee in this type of year, when there's very little separation between the top teams and everybody else, and that goes for a number of teams in different conferences, even the smaller conferences and the bubble teams. There's very little separation. It basically becomes a counting exercise of how many top level games did you win. And if somebody's 8-3 against the top 50 and somebody else is 6-4 against the top 50, the 8-3 is going to get in. I mean, it's get in first, or get to the higher seed line first, and it didn't really seem like it was that complicated to me.
Now, here in this area, we're talking to Jay Bilas here on the Michael K. Show. Fans of Monmouth upset. What does Monmouth have to do to get in? Do you think that they got rooked out of it?
I do, and especially in a year where we had SMU and Louisville ineligible to be in the field and would have been, so that would be 2 other teams that wouldn't have gotten in.
Right.
If they were taking teams that had just top caliber resumes in front of Monmouth, I'd go, well, what are you going to do? They proved themselves better. Or they demonstrated that we're better. Or if you could say, like with an educated basketball eye, say, look, these teams are better. Are you kidding me? Monmouth isn't as good as these teams. If we could say that, then I'd be fine with it. The problem I've got, especially this year, is that there was the teams at the end of the line just frankly weren't very good. I do think Syracuse is better than Monmouth. I think Michigan is better than Monmouth, but I don't think Tulsa's better. And Monmouth won 13 true road games. No other team in America won 13 true road games, and they weren't insignificant. And they also won 17 road and neutral games. No other team in America won that many. And so the committee's always saying even the RPI is weighted to take road games into consideration, even though they screwed up the formula, and it doesn't really do that. But what the message is now is, hey, little guy, we have told you all these years to go out and play road games and go challenge yourself. So if you do it and if you win those road games and if you beat big shots like UCLA and Georgetown and all that, we're going to devalue those things for you just because you lost at Army.
Right.
Because that's basically what the committee said. They went and lost at Army. It was a game they weren't even favored in. Like, people make it seem like Army's, a bunch of losers, and it's ridiculous. And so they absolutely got robbed, and the committee should be embarrassed about that decision, because I think it was embarrassing.
Do you believe the committee when they say they were not influenced by the Boeheim suspension when they put Syracuse in?
Yes, because even if you didn't factor in anything, injuries, coach being there, coach not being there, just counted up their wins, they've got more top-quality wins. And they had, in the non-conference, they beat UConn on a neutral floor. They beat Texas A&M on a neutral floor. They won at Duke, beat Notre Dame. They got all these wins. And so you just count those things up, and it's way more than some of the teams that were on the bubble or complained about being in. So St. Bonaventure's complaining about not getting in. Well, Syracuse beat St. Bonaventure. So, what are you going to do as to that? Like, head-to-head's got to mean something. And so, I'd have a problem with it if UConn doesn't get in and Michigan does, and UConn's got more quality wins and they beat Michigan, then you'd have a problem with that. But UConn didn't have to worry about that because they got in as an automatic. But if something happens like that, then you can start complaining about it, because those are the principles. Like, I don't have any problem with, like, if you think Michigan's better and I think Tulsa's better, we can have that argument. That's fine. But the problem I have is when the committee says one thing and they keep beating us over the head with this is the way it is, and then they do another and they go against their principles. That's the problem I have, because we don't have the best teams in this tournament. They're not the 68 best teams. We've never had the best teams, and that's okay. But quit telling me we're doing things a certain way and then do it the other way. Like, I don't want to hear any committee member tell me you got to challenge yourself on the road. Shut up. Quit saying that, because you already violated those with Monmouth, and so there's zero credibility on those issues now.
It is interesting, though, Jay. Monmouth gets hurt by that loss to Army, right? Syracuse doesn't get hurt to a loss to one of the worst St. John's teams of all time. Fordham beat St. John's by like 25, and they're not hurt by that, but Monmouth is hurt by the loss to Army. Army's probably a better team than St. John's.
Well, I don't know about that, but there's the point, though, is that at the end of the line, when you're talking about the bubble, the one thing that most of the bubble teams have proven is they can lose, and they can lose to almost anybody. The issue is, who can you beat? And so when I hear people say, it's almost cliche and reflexive, they say, well, anybody can win on a given day. Okay, well, if that's true, how many given days have you had? Like, let's count up your given days, because if you haven't had any given days, what's to make me believe you're going to have them in the tournament? And that's kind of the issue, is we're trying to determine who the best teams are. So when we go to the resume, what we're basically admitting is, like, I think I can tell who the best teams are by watching them play. I don't think I need to pour through a resume on that. But if I can't, if it's too close to call, then we can go and start parsing resumes and whatever the committee says. Let's take a deeper dive and scrub the resume. We can do all that stuff. But basically what we're doing is counting wins.